This is Kalc. Hello everyone, I'm Talia, creator and host of the Admiration series with a focus in creative women in business in collaboration with Kalc. And today I've got inspiring writer of the book Phoenix Rising, intuitive life coach and motivational speaker, Christie Moran. Hello, Christy. How are you?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're here today. And just to see your glowing, beautiful energy is just lovely. Thank you so much for that. I think it's really fantastic to have you on the show today. I'm really inspired by your work as a coach and also as a speaker, but especially to your contributions to Phoenix Rising. Wow, when I kind of picked up that book, your ability to share your story and find your voice through writing is something that is incredibly admirable to me. I think, a lot of listeners of the show will know my own experience with probably finding my own voice. And when I read this, not just your piece, but also the piece of so many other women, and this kind of collective body of work, I was just so inspired by the entire concept of it. And then when I was sort of after I'd read the book, and then I was digging into some background research about the book and was jumping on Amazon and having a look. I mean, it was number one in just so many categories. I couldn't believe it was something. I think when I counted, I was like, wow, like 21 categories. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it?
23 in the end. We hit 23 in Australia and one in the US as well. Like yeah, mind blowing.
That's so fantastic. And I actually, I remember some of the categories. It was things like women in business, business management. I think there was also leadership and inspiration. Like these are such core topics to be number one in. And yeah, when I was going through them, I just thought this is so fantastic. And not just for you as a writer and author, but that whole collective body of women. And I guess, somebody like me from the outside looking at that, it appears what it is as an overnight success. But I know so many times that this just isn't the case, right? There's lots of personal growth that goes into this. There's effort, there's difficulty, there's struggle. And, I recognize that sometimes it's like that feeling of going backwards before you can really propel forwards. And I guess, to be honest, that's sort of where I really want to start with you. I want you to sort of take us back to before the book release and even maybe before you became a life coach, and just tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, beautiful. And thank you. The book has been such a journey and I'm just so grateful that it's touching so many people's hearts and lives. And yeah, so that was really beautiful. Thank you. Um, I guess me in a nutshell, my life has been a journey of discovering me, like everybody. um I I'd gotten lost. I didn't know who I was. I had spent my childhood trying to fit in, trying to be what I thought everybody else wanted me to be and do, and I really had gotten lost. And I moved out of home when I was 16. I was pregnant by the time I was 17, single mom by the time I was 18. Um, when I then got married, and I talk about my marriage in Phoenix Rising,
Mhm.
I was doing it for the right reasons. So
Mhm.
I thought it was, I was trying to get life right. I was trying to do the right thing. I was trying to make good decisions. And really, I was making that choice to get married for all of the wrong reasons, even though I was trying to do it for the right reasons. And that was really the first big moment for me where I really had to look inside myself and go, who the hell am I? Who
Mm.
do I want to be? What is the impact I want to have? And how do I become that person? How do I become happy because I wasn't. And in order for me to then begin that journey, I needed to make the decision to leave that marriage, because even though I loved my husband, he was my best friend, I wasn't in love with him. And so breaking his heart, breaking up our family, and we'd also had a daughter together. So at that stage, I'd had two kids to two different fathers. You know, so the first, you know, teenage 20s for me, it was just like, if you look at it on the society scale of what to do and what not to do, it was like, yeah, I wasn't tracking real well. And all of that was on my mind. And as I went through that marriage and considering leaving, it was, oh, I am the worst person in the world. Like, how can I do this? Like, what right do I have? And I became my worst enemy. And after leaving that marriage, I felt so bad about myself that I really did spiral down, and I found myself lying on the lounge with the kids watching TV, and I just wanted to pull the blanket over my head and go to sleep and never wake up. And it was that moment that I went, no, I can't have this life. This is not the life that I want to live. I can't feel like this anymore. That's not okay. And I really needed to, what I was doing and how I was speaking to myself, the crap that I was saying to me in my own head, and really start to change that. And that was that first pivotal point for me, where I really started to discover who I was. And then the next point was about 14 years, 15 years after that. You know, I'd become quite successful. I was in a good relationship. I had my family. You know, I was a regional manager for the largest building society in Australia. I was earning good money. You know, life was great. I was successful. But again, I found myself feeling unfulfilled and unhappy. And so it was then another opportunity for me to go, oh, okay, I'm doing it again. I'm throwing away this perfect life on paper to choose something else because I'm not happy. And there was a lot of fear and a lot of guilt and a lot of crap that came up around that as well. But it was me discovering another level of me and who I wanted to be and the impact that I wanted to have. And I wasn't having that impact in the role that I was doing. I was coaching and I loved coaching. However, it was in a corporate environment and I could only help people to a certain point. And I had the skills because I'd continued to develop and, you know, do courses and grow myself. So I had all of these skills that I could help these people, but it wasn't appropriate because it was when people are struggling at work, they're often struggling at work because of their past, the past traumas, the past bullying, the past situations they've lived through, or the stuff that they've got going on at home. And I'm seeing all these people in front of me in that role that are being performance managed. And it's like, I can help you with the work stuff, but that's not going to fix it because that's not what's going on here.
Yeah.
And so it was just becoming more frustrating and more frustrating because I wasn't able to help them to the level that I knew I could. And so I had to make a change. And that's when I decided that I was going to become a life coach and go out on my own and start my own business. And yeah, that's where the real journey began.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And how long ago was that particular movement that you made from going from that corporate environment into a life coach?
Yeah, I finished on the 28th of February last year, 2 weeks before the first lockdown that we had in Newcastle. And I was going to run a face-to-face business. So I'd finished up, I hired office space. The lease started on the 1st of March. And then, 2 weeks later, we went into our first lockdown and I couldn't run a face-to-face business. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Oh my
And my partner actually said to me, you know, you can go and ask for your job back. And I think I thought about it for all of 3 seconds. And it was like, no, because if I go back, then I'm just stuck again. Like, that's not the answer. this is what I want to do. I want to be impacting people's lives. I want to be helping them to transform their life, to live a life that they love. And just because there's COVID,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to be able to do it the way I thought I was going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a way. I know there's a way. I just have to find it.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I think things like COVID have opened up like a plethora of opportunities to connect with people in totally different ways. I think listening to effectively how you answered that question, I was really just, I admire so much your openness. And obviously, being a life coach and having the experiences with writing your experiences down in a book obviously creates that element where you are very open and transparent. But I want to know, were you always this way? Is this no?
No,
No.
definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
This journey of being in business for myself, and we all go through it. We want to make a difference. We've got a message to share, and so it's a journey just to overcome the doubt and the fear and the judgments and all of the stuff, to be able to share your truth, to have a voice, to have an opinion that somebody else might not agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been a massive challenge, and I think one that has been made bigger because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Because had I have had my face-to-face business, that was within my comfort zone.
Yes.
I knew how to do that. I knew how to go out and network and meet people and do it face to face. That was easy.
Mm.
But for me to have to go online, I didn't want to go online. I
Yeah.
didn't want to put myself out there where the whole world could see me.
Yeah.
Like, no way. And so, yeah, that was massive, doing my first Facebook Live and building the online networks and online workshops, and every one of those steps was a massive hurdle to overcome. And, I would never have written in Phoenix Rising had it not been for the situation we were in,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have been in the same place. I wouldn't have been on that journey. I wouldn't have overcome those challenges. I just would have been in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never would have been ready. Maybe I would have down the track in the future, who knows, but I definitely couldn't have foreseen that as being something that I would have done when I started out, nearly 2 years ago. And even sitting down and writing that story,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote it and then I put it down and I came back and it's not, I'm skimming over it. It's not, I'm not getting right into the heart of it. And it took me quite a few goes of coming back and going that little bit deeper and that little bit deeper. And each time I did that, there was a level of healing, a level of letting go and being able to open up and be vulnerable. And that really was my goal, that, I wanted to connect with people who were feeling stuck in their life, feeling like, they were the worst person in the world. And I wanted them to know that they weren't alone and that other people had been through similar things and that there was a way out, there was other possibilities. And if I wasn't open and vulnerable, then they weren't going to connect with my story and they were still going to feel alone. So it was really important to me to keep sort of going deeper and deeper, and being as open and vulnerable as I can. And I sent it to my mum. She was the first person that read it in draft form, and she rang me, and the first thing she said, "Oh, it's open and vulnerable. Are you sure you want to, share that?" And I was like, "It's kind of the point." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, thank you. Like you've confirmed that
Yeah.
I finally got there." But yeah, it's important because I know that when I was in that marriage and I was feeling that way, I felt so alone. I
Mm.
didn't think there was one person in the world that could understand what I was going through. And so I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't reach out and get help because I was afraid of that judgment. And so if I can share, my story and challenges that I've been through, and other people can resonate with that and go, crap, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
There are other people out there. Then, I'm winning. If that's all that I get to do is to let people know that they're not alone, then I've made a difference.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I'm winning.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. And I know that the
Mm.
book has received just so many fantastic reviews. And as I said before, #1 in 23 categories is
Mm.
fantastic. I think that all the women that contributed to the book, you also must have a sense of, I guess, admiration for those women reading their stories. I guess,
Yeah.
how did you feel? And I wonder as well if collectively as that group of women, how you all felt sort of before, during, and after that process of reading that book. And if you all had conversations when you were writing that book, or it was quite silo. Did you know them before the book was released? I'm very curious about
Yeah, no, I didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful working with those women, because they all had such a beautiful story to share. And as we met, and there were some people that you have a connection with and you get along really well with, and you spend more time with them. And then there was other people that I didn't meet until towards the end, because of different time zones and people from all around the world. So yeah, there's some really close relationships been formed, and then there's some that it's like, oh yep, I know who you are now. But we haven't been able to form that relationship just because of that distance. However, it was really lovely being on that journey with them and going through the same things, struggling with sharing our stories and being vulnerable, and oh my God, what are people going to say? And are we really doing this? And doing that with 18 other beautiful women, and with Taryn as the publisher, that just made it a really safe place to be. And I think the biggest moment for me was I'd done an interview a couple of months before the book came out. And, I'd said in that interview, I loved my husband, but I wasn't in love with my husband. And I'd sent the raw video off to my video editor to cut up, and, so I could put it on Facebook and, advertise for the book. And he sent it back, and I pressed play, and that was the first thing that it said. I love my husband, but I'm not in love with my husband. And I was like, oh crap, turn it off. And my daughter was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, that was a bit much. Like, it was one thing when it was written in a chapter, hidden amongst 3,000 other words, in a book with 18 other chapters. You had to get the book to start with, then you had to read the whole thing, like to come across that. Whereas, an interview on Facebook, it was like, oh my God, I'm putting that out there for the whole world to see. Like, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, I need to breathe.
Yeah.
I need to, And of course I reached out to the other authors, and I was like, oh my God, this has just happened. And I'm like freaking out a little bit. And had the support of those ladies as well to get over that and come to terms with. And it's like, no, this is a good thing. I want to have an impact. So that's what it's about.
100%. And I think as well, I mean, a lot of what you're speaking is really about this storytelling, and I kind of want to dig into that storytelling aspect of you, but also the kind of showing up to the arena, or showing up and telling your story. You've spoken a lot about vulnerability, and actually when you're talking, I mean, I don't know if you know the work of Brene Brown, but yes, she speaks a lot about this sort of showing up to the arena, and how it's like this, and then you are there and your face is there, and then you're like, oh my goodness. And going through those emotions and actually talking about them is so genuine and just so real. And, you know, reading your book, I mean, I was able to connect so much with your story or other people's stories in there because it just was exactly that, real and genuine and open. All the, you know, icky, wonderful, messy, fantastic bits of that. And just thank you for really sharing that, because, you know, when you say about having an impact and wanting to make other people not feel as if they're, you know, alone, or, you know, when they're in those moments of feeling quite stuck. Yeah, you've absolutely been able to do that with me. And I have no doubt that people have already read the book or going to go off and read it after listening to this podcast will experience exactly the same thing. So yeah, I definitely, oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. I mean, I definitely view you as someone who is very engaging and resilient and brave. Would you agree that these form kind of part of your core values? I kind of want to know more about your experience of how you used, you know, some of your core values to kind of overcome these limiting beliefs, or your story before where you were saying like, oh my gosh, no, what's happening here? How did you use that to really propel forward, I guess?
Yeah. And I think resilience absolutely has been something that has been really strong in me all of my life. And, you know, I guess it's something that we build through our experiences and the things that we encounter. But yeah, absolutely. Some of my other core values are also freedom and passion. And for me, when I was stuck in that role in corporate, and I was no longer feeling passionate about what I was doing because I wasn't able to have the impact that I wanted to have, that felt really trapped and stuck and not freedom at all. So I wasn't feeling passionate about what I was doing. I didn't have the freedom to really be who I was. And it required a hell of a lot of resilience to take those next steps, to even make the decision to take those next steps. Like, we had just bought a property on 25 acres. We were going to build our dream forever home. And that meant we were going to get another mortgage. That was huge to do that.
Yeah.
And that also meant that I would have needed to stay in that job to do that. And so when I started to think about the fact that I was no longer happy there, I wanted to step out and start my own business, to do life coaching where I could make that impact. That would mean that we couldn't build that house.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd promised my daughter the house is coming, you know, because we moved into this tiny little shack on the property. And it was like, that's just temporary, you know, until we build the house. And so I wasn't just saying to my partner, to my daughter, both of our boys are grown, so they're out on their own, that, yeah, I want to leave this secure job that pays me this awesome salary with the company car and all of the perks, and start my own business. And yeah, we're not going to be able to build that house until I build the business up to the level that allows us to do that. So it was kind of like ripping the rug out from under them and going, you know, well, sorry, but I want to be happy. And so it did take a lot of resilience and a lot of overcoming the fear. And as I went through that, what I recognized was that fear was on so many different levels. You know, it wasn't just the fear of, what if I stuff it up? What if I fail? What if we lose our property? What if, you know, people hate me? What if they reject me? What if my kids hate me because I stuff it up so badly and I lose everything that I've, you know, built up over the last 25 years? What if my partner leaves me? What if I end up alone? Like, there was just so many layers that were there creating that fear. And I did need to be able to let that go, because there's no way that I could have taken that leap of faith, still worried that that was actually going to happen. And, you know, looking back at it, it's like, I was just ridiculous. Like my partner, my kids, so they were never going to hate me or leave me, or, you know, of course they were going to support me. But, you know, our fears are not logical.
Yes.
And so it did take a lot of work. And, you know, that wasn't just that was work with a coach, but it was also being able to use tools in the day-to-day life. And really what it comes down to for me now when I'm going through with those fears, when those things come up, like the example I gave of the video, you know, when that comes up and it sort of stops you in your tracks, for me, it's staying in the question, because when we conclude, there's nowhere to go. When we decide that we're not good enough, or we can't do it, or that people are going to reject us, there's no room for anything else. And so it really is about staying in the question and going, you know, what else is possible? And not just what if all the bad things happen, but what if the good things happen? And that was really one of those big questions I asked myself when I was considering leaving my job. It was, well, yeah, what if it all goes wrong? What if I fail? What if all those other things I just said? But what if it all goes right? Like, what if this is actually the thing that I've been looking for all of my life? Or it leads me to the thing that I've been looking for and known deep down was possible. What if this actually allows us to have that dream house without the mortgage that we would have had to have if I stayed in that job? What if this actually shows my kids that following their dream is possible? What if I impact millions of lives? You know, and when you start to look at it that way, it opens it up and goes, there's so many more things that we can consider. There's so many other possibilities that are there, that when we've concluded, when we've just decided that it's not going to work, we've shut them all out. And so that has been, I think, you know, from something I use every day around limiting beliefs, that has been the biggest one. Because when we can stay in the question, when we can go, what else is possible? What if it actually turns out? It just shifts your whole perspective, because you start to realize that there is other possibilities, and that limiting belief is just one possibility.
Wow.
Amongst all of these others that we get to then choose from. Or take a chance on.
I think exactly what you've just said is such a core piece of information that so many of the listeners can really take and implement in their day-to-day lives. You know, I was thinking about asking you actually almost like a piece of advice, but oh wow, just that is really, really going to impact people's lives just by what you have said there. And I think that
to add to that with a piece of advice, I'd say, absolutely stay in the question. However, also, you know, within that, stop cutting the parts of you off that you believe aren't good enough, that people are going to reject. Because you in your uniqueness is going to have the biggest impact in this world. Like you can't be the best version of you trying to be somebody else or trying to do it somebody else's way. And when you start to do that, when you start to, you know, not open your mouth, when you start to be small, when you start to cut parts of yourself off in order to fit in, it's coming back to that, being in that question and going, well, what is the world actually missing out on if I don't be me? What else is possible? What can I actually be for the world if I embrace all of me? You know, really staying in that question of what is possible, because there is so much there for us to be able to give to the world, and so many of us aren't sharing it because it's different. They don't fit in. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. That would be the piece of advice.
Oh, gosh, I'm so glad
Mm.
we're recording this so I can so I can listen to it on repeat. I yeah, just wow. Honestly, a lot of the things that you said in such a short period of time really do have such a fantastic impact. You're incredibly engaging when you talk. And I think that, doing this series for me is connecting with a lot of creative women in business. And I very, very much see you as a creative woman. I think I've had a lot of different feedback from listeners of the show with lots of varying interests. And some people expect to see a creative woman as someone who paints something or produces something or outputs something. And of course, that is, from my opinion, one form of creativity. But, you sharing your story and being a storyteller, because that is effectively what I really see you as, and not just as someone who tells your own story, but with your work with all your clients, it's also enabling them to be a storyteller as well, and to then effectively show their most authentic selves. And so I guess when I say that you're a creative or a creative woman, is this something that resonates with you?
I totally agree with what you just said. I have always said I wasn't creative.
Mm.
And I saw creative as exactly as you described it, as the
Yeah.
painter, the drawer, the artist. I'm like, I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't do music, I can't do all of those creative things that creative types do.
Yeah.
Uh, However, I have recognized over the last few years that creativity is so broad. And just because you're not an artist
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're not creative.
Mhm.
And we're all creative in our own way.
Yeah.
It just doesn't always look like the person next to us. And what I do in my life coaching is actually help people to create the life that they always dreamed of. And
Mm.
so it is very creative. It's very intuitive. I'm getting people to tap into those dreams that they've had since they were a kid, that they keep popping up,
Yeah.
but you keep ignoring. It's like, no, that's just the childhood dream. That's never actually going to come into reality. That's just stupid. Like, just put that away again, and let's just keep doing what we're supposed to be doing. Participate in life and get the job and pay the bills and do the things that we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm all about empowering people to be able to pick up those dreams,
Mm.
um, and find a way to have the courage to actually start to create them and to bring them into this reality and to live the life that they want to be living, that they dreamed of living.
Mm.
And it's such a beautiful thing. Like, I had a client come to me about 6 months ago, and he was feeling stressed and overwhelmed and wasn't enjoying the job that he was doing. And he came to me and he's like, oh, I've got this other job opportunity and I've had this offer and I've had this offer, and did the pros and cons on all of the different things. Do I stay where I am? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I'm like, yeah, but what's the thing that you've always dreamed of doing? Oh, well, I wanted to be a PT, but that's just, I'm like, whoa, hang on. No, tell me about that.
Yes.
And, over that period, he's been able to leave his job, become qualified as a PT,
Mm.
go out and get that job in that field that he actually loves. And when you can go and do something that lights your heart up, like, and puts a smile on your face, it changes everything. It
Yes.
changes everything, because every day you're getting to wake up and do something that you love.
Mm.
Getting to wake up and do the thing that you came here to do
Yeah.
in the way that is aligned to who you are.
Yes.
And there's just nothing like it. And
Yeah.
that is me in coaching. I'm pretty passionate about coaching and people being their authentic selves and, showing up as their greatest expression. And, this is what I love. For me, there is nothing like sitting down and having a coaching session with somebody and seeing the lights come on in their eyes and
Yeah.
seeing them become engaged in their own life again.
Mhm.
Like, that's beautiful.
And has there been someone in, your life that you've really admired or has encouraged you or supported you to really go after that? Or this whole kind of topic of admiration. I'm very curious if there was a figure that,
Yeah.
way back when you looked at and you was like, wow, like I want to be like that
Mm.
person, or I want to be myself through looking up to that person. Was there anybody part of that process?
There's not one person, there's been several,
Yeah.
but I really think that it started with my grandmother and my mum.
Mm,
My grandmother was this person who accepted everybody for exactly who they were.
yeah.
There was just not a judgmental bone in her body.
Yeah.
And all of us grandkids always knew we were loved and accepted with her, no matter what we'd done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't matter if, I was pregnant at 18 or getting a divorce or,
Yeah.
she didn't care. She
Yeah.
just loved me anyway. And I know early on I made the decision that, I wanted to be like her in that way
Yeah.
because that was so powerful to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a really had a really big impact on me. And
Mm,
then my mum, because when I was a teenager, my mum was reading all of the self-help books and
yeah.
creating change in her own life and going out there and looking at what else was possible and taking me to seminars and different things and getting me to read the books as well.
Yeah.
And the I guess the underlying message in all of those seminars and, multi-level marketing, different things,
Mm-hmm.
it was all around, follow your dreams and anything is possible. And,
Mm,
um, anybody can have what they want to have.
yeah.
And, as a teenager, it was like, yes, that sounds amazing. I want that. And life did get in the way for a little while.
Yeah.
It really did. And I thought that I needed to do things a certain way in order to have those things. But I really thank my mum for, taking me along on that journey with her, for having the guts to
Mm,
explore it for herself.
yeah.
So those two women in my life, absolutely. But people like Brene Brown.
Yeah.
I read a couple of her books before I watched her, don't know what you'd call it, documentary or
Oh,
TED Talk or whatever you want to call it. I must have watched that half a dozen times, and I think I cried every single time. And my daughter was like, "Really? Are you watching it again?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
yeah. Mhm.
But it was that, yeah, that her talking about, doing that TED Talk and then the haters online and the judgments and everything that really took her down for a number of months that she needed to rebuild from again.
Yeah.
Um, and she was just so courageous.
Mm,
And I learned so much from Brene Brown.
yeah.
And I really respect people like Pink and
Mm,
Lady Gaga
mhm.
because they're unapologetically who they are.
Yeah.
In that, it also gives permission for others
Mm,
to be unapologetic about who they are.
yeah.
And could you imagine this world if Pink didn't, step out and be who she is, or Lady Gaga didn't step out and be who she is? Like the world would be missing out. And it's exactly the same for all of us.
Oh, completely. Completely.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you know what? You've been so incredibly engaging. Like I've hardly wrote down any any kind of bits whatsoever for a creative exercise. But I think that heading into the creative exercise, I would really like to focus on this element of admiration. I want to say that, and I think it's linked in with you, right? Because I think on the outset, to a lot of people, okay, yeah, started this business last year in COVID, in a pandemic, somewhere between all of that with having, children and the stress, and you were able to write a book and you've released that book and it's been this success. And I think that, I think there's a lot of, how do I put it? This kind of big powwow outcomes is all that people really see. And I think when you delve into the hard work that goes into somebody's work, you then, realize that this kind of overnight success isn't actually overnight. It's been a lifetime of building towards something and creating that impact. And so I'm quite interested in this. I mean, whether you want to choose someone like Lady Gaga, Pink, Brene Brown, maybe it's somebody else. But I'd like you to just take a minute to delve a little bit deeper. These people obviously have the impact or the assumption that they've been an overnight success, but actually they have not. So I think looking into one of these people who you admire would be really quite cool. And then I would like you, because, you are a storyteller, I would like you to tell us about their story. And I want to kind of encourage you, as someone, as you said, who wasn't typically saw themselves as creative, I would like you to maybe demonstrate in some kind of creative way. My thoughts are something around like a little life graph, to kind of graph out their experience, or I'm thinking maybe something like this. And then what I'm quite curious to do as well is maybe take just like a body of their work, whether it's a page from a book or an online article that they've wrote or something, or even a song, like if it's an artist. And what I would like you to do is almost like black out parts of their work to create almost like remix something that then is your own. And I guess why I would like to sort of focus on this is very much everything that you've been saying to me is around storytelling, and because this is the admiration series as well, really getting into that perspective from people we admire, and then using their work to sort of empower us to create new different things. So I'm quite excited to sort of see what you come up with. So research an overnight success, tell their story in an interesting way, and then also take a body of their work and kind of rewrite it. Like I said, sort of black it out, create a poem, or create like a sentence, or I don't know, some kind of life statement, something that also sort of embodies you. I'm very curious to sort of see how that all goes.
Interested to find out more about Christy? Purchase her #1 selling book, Phoenix Rising, or book in a consultancy session with her life coaching business, Holistic Life Transformations, then head over to Instagram, christy.moran980, and follow the link to her bio. That's christy.moran.980 on Instagram.
So welcome back, Christy. How did you find that exercise?
Thank you. It was challenging, but it was good. It was surprising how much information I already had. It was just, getting some details. And the creative piece is the bit that scared me the most. As I said before, I've not seen myself as somebody who is creative. And I guess what I really took from that is that I actually wrote something a few weeks ago when I was, connected and in my intuition, and I wrote it and I didn't even reread it at the time. It was just like, I was just journaling and I just wrote it and I just put it down. And I came across it a couple of days later and I was like, oh, who wrote that? When did I write that? I'd forgotten that I'd even written it, and I just went back and looked at it. So I thought, oh, hang on, I think this fits here, and it fits beautifully. So the universe works in mysterious ways.
It does.
I think, I think sometimes people make the assumption that they are not creative, or give their power away to, especially if they're intuitive and they channel information. They go, no, I just channeled that. That's not me. That's not mine. And it's like, no, it actually is, because that's part of you.
100%. And I'm actually
Yeah.
so excited to see and hear who you've chosen, and take it away.
Yeah, beautiful. I would like to talk to you about Christopher M. Duncan. He is one of my mentors. He is somebody who I have been learning from. I've been doing a certification with him over the last 12 months. I just love learning all of this stuff, and I just keep learning more and more and more. And what inspired me about him over that time is his story and his challenges and the lessons that he's learned from those challenges. So, going back about 10 years or so, he had become a self-made millionaire. He had a business partner who was his best friend, and his best friend died in a motorcycle accident. And he basically lost the business, couldn't do it without that business partner, lost everything. So self-made millionaire, back to nothing. And within the next 2 years, he found another business partner. He created another business, over $2 million worth. So again, second time round, self-made millionaire. And that business then fell through, back to nothing. And, we see this in our lives with so many people, and you might have even experienced it yourself, where you create everything and then you lose it.
Yeah.
Or you do something to sabotage it and you go backwards again. It's like this one step forward, one step back all the time. And about 4 years ago, Chris created Magnetic Minds, which is a body of work around personal development. And this is the certification that I've been doing with Chris. And he has, for the third time, built this business up to being a millionaire. And this time it's different, because after that second time of him becoming, almost bankrupt, he started to interview other millionaires and billionaires and successful people, and really tried to understand, what is it that these people have that he didn't, or that other people don't have. And, he'd done so many different personal development courses. He'd been featured in movies with Tony Robbins and the Dalai Lama. Like, he'd done a lot. And what he discovered as he went through and he was talking with these mentors of his was that he wasn't being it. He was trying to be it, but he wasn't being it, and he didn't believe that he really could be it or have it. And the story that he tells that really, really hits home for me was, he was talking about a millionaire that he was having this conversation with, and he was trying to get this millionaire to do business with him, and they turned him down. And they said to him, "I'm not doing business with you because you're not it. You don't believe that you're it, and you're going to keep going out and doing more personal development and more personal development because you think you need to be different."
Yeah, wow.
And Chris is like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And he goes, the person who has the affirmations on the fridge that say, "I am a millionaire," will never be the millionaire. Because how many millionaires do you know that have got an affirmation written on their fridge that says, "I'm a millionaire"?
Wow.
Because when you're being it, you don't have to try and convince yourself that you are, because you already are. And what this led to was Chris coming up with this premise that we are not broken, that we are just human. We've had a human experience. We're running from unconscious programming that has been created over our lifetime, and that we created this programming. We create our life based on that programming. And so where we get stuck in this personal development world, and this was the biggest learning that I've taken from Chris, is that when we try and fix that programming so that we can then be it, all we're doing is reinforcing the fact that we're broken. because we're fixing ourselves. We're trying to trick the unconscious mind to go, no, we're really this when we're that. And we can't trick the unconscious mind.
No.
And in doing so, we're just reconfirming the fact that we're broken. Every time we try and fix ourselves or heal ourselves, reconfirming that we are broken. And so the unconscious mind keeps creating this world that we're broken in, that we're not it. And when you think about the seed of a tree, the seed is already the tree. The seed already is the forest. It might not look like the tree and it might not look like the forest because it's a different stage of life.
Yeah.
But it already is it.
Mm-hmm.
And so are we. We are already it. We don't need to change ourselves or fix ourselves. All we need to do is create the life that we want to be living.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go and we create the life that we're already living, we learn new things, we grow, we evolve, we let go of the stuff that no longer serves us. And we grow into this later version of us, but we are already it now. We already are enough. We already have enough. We are it now. And that was so mind-blowing for me, and for Chris, because what it allows us to do is recognize that whether I live in a rental property with 1 bedroom or whether I live in the $1 million mansion, I'm the same person.
Yeah.
Having the $1 million mansion doesn't change us. And that really resonated with me because in my story, I had decided that in order to be happy, I needed to have the relationship, the kids, the family, the good job, to be able to have the property that I wanted, to be able to do all of the things. And it wasn't until I'd achieved all of that and then went, well, I'm not happy. And I was so pissed off. I had spent 20 years creating all of that stuff to make me happy.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I wasn't happy. And it was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And it's because I wasn't creating the life that I loved. I wasn't creating happiness.
Yeah.
I was creating all the things I had decided would equal me being happy. And then disappointed when they showed up and I wasn't happy. And so this makes sure that we are planting the seed of the thing we want to create.
Yeah.
If we want a pine tree, we plant a pine tree seed. If we want happiness, we plant happiness, not partner, kids, house, job. That's what shows up.
Makes complete sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this premise has been hugely powerful for me and my clients, being able to really look at what they want rather than what they've got and what they've had, rather than looking backwards and going, let's fix all of the problems. Let's look forward and go, what do we want to create instead?
Yeah.
Let's do that and let go of anything that gets in the way as we go. It has just been massive. And the little, I don't know if I'd call it a poem or not, the little piece that I wrote, it's okay, my darling. You have already created it. It's coming with great force. It's coming. I know you can feel it. It's been growing in size and in anticipation. Your creation is done. You are doing amazingly. Keep following your creative spirit. Keep following your light. Breathe deeply as this enhances your light. Shine brightly so they can see you. They are on their way. Don't huff, my dear. Everything is okay. Your creation is done. It's time to allow the magic. Breathe. Breathe. Notice when you breathe, you can feel it. It's coming. Soon you will be able to touch it.
Wow. Oh, Christy, I've got goosebumps. Wow. Thank you. And I know you had some trepidation about that exercise, but yeah, just thank you for sharing that and continuing to be brave and courageous, and lean into your creativity as well, because you are a writer, not just a writer, but a, number one selling author. And I think then, you are. And I think then that kind of leads me on to, my last question, which is, what's next? What's the next project for Christy?
There is another book coming out at the end of February, another multi-author book. So there's about 20 of us, again, all women. And the book this time is called Corporate Dropouts. So it's all about women who have dropped out of the corporate environment and become entrepreneurs. So I share in detail the story of me leaving corporate and everything that surrounds that. Wow. And I think I may actually include that little poem, if that's what I call it. I think that actually fits, which is cool. The other thing that I'm working on is actually writing my own book. I think that one's going to be a bit of a longer journey, but the way I see that, the way I've started writing that is a transformational journey. It's tips and tools, but at the same time, it's sharing my stories, my experiences, experiences of others, to really demonstrate, what that looks like and how it feels, and how you can utilize different tools to be able to create something different. That one, will take a little bit longer, but it's in the works. So I'll continue to work through that. And the other thing, look, I don't know what the next 12 months is going to hold. I couldn't have, looking back on the last 12 months, there are so many things that I've done and achieved and created that if you had have asked me 12 months ago, would never have been on the radar. So I'm open to seeing what the next 12 months brings. However, one of the things that I will be focusing on next year is creating a circle for women at risk of domestic violence. So I like perspective, and this last year that we're in, I was mentoring at-risk teenagers, and that was amazing, and I loved being part of that process and being able to support those teenagers. And next year I've decided to move that focus to women at risk of domestic violence. They might be in domestic violence situations already, or they might be in relationships that are not ideal and are beginning to build in that way. I really want to be able to support them to increase their self-esteem, really empower them to be who they are and make the choices that are going to be right for them. Because a lot of women get stuck in those relationships and they try and leave, but they have no self-esteem, they have no self-worth, they have been trodden down to such an extent that they just don't have the strength and the ability to leave, or to leave and stay away. So being able to support that group of women over the next year will just be amazing.
Wow. Well, I am so fascinated to keep checking in with you and seeing your story and how you continue to just evolve. And just thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm sure that I'm going to get lots of feedback from listeners, because you are just so engaging and resilient and brave, and just thank you so much again, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Process-based, co-creating transformation and delivering results. Curious for more? Then head over to Instagram. That's Kalc __ on Instagram.